to begin today with a acknowledgement of the coming of spring. So I went ahead and got this yellow candle. I don't know why, but I was inclined to think that yellow represented like new life or whatever. So welcome to spring. We'll go ahead and throw a little incense in this party. Normally I like to, hang on, I like to keep the incense going for a little while, but not the whole time, just because of the closed space. But it makes a nice ambiance or whatever. So spring is the time of renewal, of rebirth, when the proverbial old skin is shed so that new life can come about. And I try not to like come off as biased, but honestly it's like my favorite time of year when everything is renewed, and you look out and you see all the little buds on the trees and the birds are chirping, when before it was just silent, darkness and everything was cold. I understand the necessity of the cycle, and I respect that by all means, but spring is, I'm very partial. So in this time, the springtime is a rebirth, and the focus becomes gradually shifted onto the masculine half of God, which is Ah, which you see standing in the background there. Well, he's sort of standing. My Ah here, he's suffered some falling recently in the transport. This whole altar and shrine I had to transport for logistical reasons in my home, but it's a lot better. It's a lot more of an open concept, an open space. I think the gods are pleased with the new space, but he, poor guy, has suffered a couple falls, so he cracked his leg, and I don't know, so he doesn't stand upright, but I'm gonna fix that at some point. But the focus of spring gradually shifts to that side of the deity when things come back to life and Ah comes into fruition more. Obviously the physical weather changes and reflects that change. So today, because it's been like 60 or almost pushing 70 degrees outside, strangely. So I thought I'd take this morning to just kind of appreciate in a quiet ritual the significance of the winds of change as we're seeing, and just to remind ourselves that in end time of our lives, when things seem stagnant and frozen, a lot like the winter, that in reality the cycle moves on, and the winds of change are a welcome guest. That things would be renewed and life would be renewed and come about again with the renewed union of our friends in the sky, so to speak. That I would hope that we leave our hearts open to this renewal inside as well as outside, that it would take place. and that we would let go of those things which maybe we've gathered over the past season that is now going behind us. But we would still keep the consistency of our faith in other ways. This is something that I strive for and that I hope for. I don't know. I feel like I was gonna say something profound there, but I forgot. So the meaning of spring to me is the weight of it is light. It's light. It's a lifting rather than a heaviness, rather than a gathering. I'll put it that way. It's rather than a gathering, rather than a rest. It's an activation, and that itself is part of what provides its characteristic. Much like it's an activity. It's a so welcome. I know it's not quite the spring equinox yet. I think it's like March 20th or something, and I'm gonna go ahead and have a kind of ritual going on the equinox as well, just to acknowledge formally the rising of Ah, when Ah becomes co-equal with El, who has up to now been the reigning queen. God bless. I'm hoping to get away with an actual like bonfire. So like, I mean, as much as I really appreciate this space and the time of prayer and stuff, which is great, I think it'd be really cool to have like an actual bonfire, and I want to do that for the fall equinox too. I'm trying to change it up a little, than just having kind of a little self-reflection time. I'm gonna have like an actual party. I'm kind of doing this as I go, though, so heaven forgive me. But again, I just want to emphasize that the time of spring is a time for rebirth, renewal, letting go of those things which maybe we've gathered over the past few months, all of the negativity going on, all of the craziness, all of the chaos. May it fall into a higher order, and may we recognize that higher order as necessary to sort of host the good change that is coming. And as sure as the sun rises, our faith ought to remain the same. And the ultimate peace of Allah, the ultimate peace of reconciliation and rebirth, and the assurance that maybe things that appear bad, things that appear to have ended, actually come back. And that's the beauty of the cycle. Even though, like, maybe if we're more inclined to spring in that kind of theme of renewal and rebirth, when it becomes fall, it's the same way. When we see the cycle turn again and the earth make its shift, we still acknowledge that cycle is the ultimate. And then it keeps pressing forward, the time keeps going. But in times of gathering, where things have gathered and where weights have become heavy, old habits, things like that, we can know that in spring the same winds of change come and release us from the past and release us from things that have gathered. I know there's a lot of craziness going on right now, but I think that we should rest assured that in due time things figure themselves out and that everything's going to be okay. Um, and time marches on. Things will go on. They will get better. They will rise again. If there's anything that we ought to hold our faith in, it is that over and over again, how many times do we have to be reassured? Much like the seasons, it's like not believing that spring will come, even though you've lived through how many cycles of the seasons. Just rest your faith in that assurance of things always coming back and bouncing back and reactivating. May they reactivate, and may God's will be done. Amen.